Hello, John.
Hello, Barbara.
So today we're going to talk about a very, very special lady called Sister Mary Ignatia. She's the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. This time of year is a very, very difficult time for people who have, difficulties with alcohol. You have lots of recovering alcoholics, and of course, Christmas time, there's alcohol absolutely everywhere. So Sister Mary Ignatia founded Alcoholics Anonymous. She left Ireland age 6. She went to the US. She got a degree in music and she ended up working in St. Thomas Hospital and she founded Alcoholics Anonymous in 1934. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Where was St. Thomas's Hospital? What neck of the woods was it in the United
Uh,
States?
I
Was it in
think
New York or?
I think it was a place called Akron, I think it was called.
All right, yeah, well,
Never heard
wherever
of it.
that is.
Yeah.
Now I think that she didn't actually found Alcoholics Anonymous. What happened was that she was a great facilitator. There must have been the hospital that she was in and running very well, which nuns did run very well. We didn't have any of the problems that we have now in hospitals. When they were running things, there was none of this old cardiology that we have now here in this country. But anyway, in the United States, there was two particular alcoholics went there for treatment, and one was a doctor. And another was Bill, a doctor. I don't know which of them was a doctor. There was one fellow was called Bill. If we looked it up, you could see they're regarded as the founders. But the sister was a great facilitator. She provided a room for them to hold their meetings in the hospital, and she encouraged the alcoholics. They must have had a unit for alcoholics because don't forget, alcohol is a problem worldwide, not just in this country, which it is, and in other countries, it's a problem. And it's if to get the proper treatment, and it's they accept that they have the problem with the alcohol, that they're alcoholics, which was considered a disease because some people have it and then they drink to excess and cause a lot of trouble in families and all the rest of it. They definitely cause trouble, and so no, so that's what she was. She wasn't actually a founder; she was a great facilitator. Or because she wasn't an alcoholic, to found alcoholics, you want to be an alcoholic. And I think uh, because of where she was and the facilitator, that the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, which was the first one was you believed in a higher power that would help you to put God as you might understand him, and did the 12 steps, and accepted you were an alcoholic, and each day of sobriety. One of the phrases was, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I say that little prayer, it's a very important ingredient in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. They have that as a prayer that they say, and they when they start the meeting, there's usually somebody that's the secretary of that, and it might be a relatively newcomer giving them the experience, and that's the way the Alcoholics Anonymous is run. But as you rightly say, this nun was a great facilitator, and she should have got more recognition in Alcoholics Anonymous as regards being a great facilitator and responsible for its establishment by providing a room for the initial founders, because these were alcoholics. It's usually I wouldn't think the nun was an alcoholic herself,
Mm.
but she was a great facilitator and she saw the good of it. So when people went there with alcohol problems, they the first thing is into these meetings, and people accepted fairly quickly that they had a problem, and to hand it over to God as they understood him, and did the 12 steps, which is great, and make restitution to those ones that they've harmed, be they families or friends or this, that, or the other,
I think
because they do that. they borrow right, left, and centre so as they can indulge in their alcohol. And drug addicts are there's a there's a there's a one for them as well, based on the 12
You
steps of Alcoholics
can I
Anonymous, because they have to admit that they're powerless over what it is that's a drug.
can I just say that you mentioned there, okay, that it's a worldwide problem, and of course, before AAA came about, there would have been many other organizations that tried something similar. There was always places probably for people that are seeking sobriety to go places of refuge around the world, and I'm sure there's been many places. But AA is the most successful. It's a fantastic organization. I think what you mentioned there, John, was
Yes.
what you mentioned there about it's a worldwide issue. There are many, many alcoholics in the world who, especially in Ireland, I've known quite a few that thought that they could immigrate and start a new life, and that alcoholism wouldn't follow them. You know, I do know people that came across them in life. They said they're going over to Saudi Arabia where they're not allowed to drink, or they're going over to America. They're going to start all over again. But of course, the disease is in the head. And you said the word disease. The word actually disease is dis-ease, not at ease with oneself. It's kind of that's the way I kind of look at it, you know?
Yeah, very good. That's a good explanation there, Oliver, that you've just mentioned. The ease of the mind, and the mind is its own place and can make a hell, as Shakespeare said, can make a hell of heaven or a heaven of hell. And
Yeah, yeah.
he must have known something about that kind of thing, alcohol abuse. And funny enough, in this country, you didn't mention him there, Oliver, but I mentioned him, Saint Matthew, are the founder of the Pioneer Association. We had a very bad problem in this country, and the way he did it was with the Pioneer pin, and he was successful. For a lot of people, they didn't have the benefit of, but they did sort of change to a spiritual way of life. Father Theobald Matthew, I think Theobald was his first name, but he was the one that started the Pioneer Association. And you still see people with Pioneer pins. I saw when I was at the retreat in Knockhouse Hotel, which was very nicely arranged. There was one or two there I saw that they had a Pioneer pin. So that means they weren't drinking all their life. That was another way of doing it. But the ones that the alcohol gets a grip of them, they have to really be dried out first, because they often even have the heebie-jeebies. There was a great film years ago that highlighted that. It was called The Third Day, or not The Third Man now, The Third Day. Ray Milland was the alcoholic, and he'd have the bottles down out the window because he was making out to his fiancée that he was going to be sober. But the 3 days that he saw elephants and all the rest of it, it was one of the most evocative films that I ever saw, and it would show you what can happen with alcoholics, that they.
John, how are you? So we had a bit of a glitch there. Anyway, we're going to continue. We're talking about Father Matthew, and we're going to move on to Matt Talbot, a very famous Irish alcoholic.
That's right. Poor Matt, was an alcoholic. He was a docker, and all the dockers at that time were nearly all drinkers because of the nature of their work and the fact that they might be not called to load a ship or unload a ship or what have you. So Matt was one of those, and I don't know how he managed to stop drinking. What happened for him to do that, but he did stop drinking and went to mass every day, and led a very chaste and pure life. And then one time he went into a pub. He was nearly going to slip, as the fellow says, and he had money in his pocket, but the barman wasn't around, and he had time to reflect, and he went back out, and he never had money in his pocket after that in case he was tempted. But when he died on the street after being at mass. He was taken to hospital, and the nuns that attended to him saw that he had chains around his neck, and they inquired about him and found that he was living a very holy life. So his reputation grew from that, and he was a role model for alcoholics. He's the patron saint of alcoholics, I think, and I think he's blessed. I hope he is blessed by now. I know Irish saints seem to be very slow at getting recognised in the Vatican for some strange reason. But he should be Saint Matt Talbot. When the Christian TV Ireland gets going, we'll be looking for that to be a fact, because he was a great role model and people were able to get off alcohol by praying to him, So that's a little idea there. So that was Matt Talbot, and a great role model for alcoholics.
Yeah. One thing I would encourage people who make beer, I've often said this to a friend of mine. I think what they should do is they should fortify beer in the same way they do cornflakes with vitamins. Because I tell you why, a friend of mine, he's an alcoholic. He's still drinking, even though he got alcoholic BeriBeri. So you get alcoholic BeriBeri from a lack of vitamin B1. Particularly beer drinkers get it. Okay, and so my friend he was brain damaged. I think it was within 24 hours. It happened very quickly, and he continues to drink, but he's a totally different person. He's memory loss, he's confusion. He doesn't talk anymore, and these are the really serious side effects of alcoholism.
Correct.
But
And
you never hear of beer being fortified with vitamins, and I think it will be a good thing.
well, it would be something that it might prevent this problem that can happen with excessive alcohol, that they have brain damage as a result. And there was a great film years ago about alcoholics. Ray Milland was in it, and I think it was the third day or something. And he was an alcoholic, and his fiance thought he was not drinking, but he saw all sorts of things when he was drinking. It was really he was in the dregs, if you like,
Yeah.
and he had the bottles hid down out the window so nobody could see them. And so it was a very good film, and it put a lot of people on the straight and narrow what they could experience if they abuse alcohol or drugs or anything of that caliber.
I think
So yeah,
I think going back to Sister Mary Ignatia, I think like she founded or helped to found Alcoholics Anonymous AA, okay, in America at a time
he supported it.
she
Yeah,
supported it, okay. When you had prohibition in the 1920s, and then you had the depression of the 1930s, these would have been very, very difficult times for alcoholics because the prohibition, they couldn't get access to their alcohol, their drug of choice. Well, sorry, maybe not
yeah.
choice, they didn't have a choice. But the thing is, it would have been difficult
And now
times.
they had, yeah, go ahead, Alma. But they had. Did you ever hear of the speakeasies?
Yeah, I
They,
heard of
they
them.
were places that had alcohol, but you had to speak easy because they could be raided by the police. So they were called speakeasies. When you went in, you didn't talk, you whispered, uh,
So it's
same, same again, please. And this is what it said. So there was the speakeasies.
all right,
And
okay. So because I do know, I remember in Ireland, if you go back to ESAT Digiphone, which was Dennis O'Brien's company, they had a phone pack that you could buy a bundle. It was called Speakeasy. I wonder is that where it came from? Speakeasy. So you're saying there was these speakeasy clubs in the States?
was, yeah, during Prohibition, because like people will, and there was what they called bootleggers that shipped illicit drink around the country had to supply these speakeasies. So when you went into the speakeasies, I think you had to sort of ring it, who sent you Joe, send me, you were let in, speakeasy. So they were called speakeasies. And I just liked the idea of speakeasies, be quiet. And so they could drink in peace. So they couldn't be suddenly start singing. They sort of got too much. It's a long way to Tipperary, or whatever else they might sing.
Yeah.
Uh, my name is McNamara, and I'm the leader of the band, and so on and so forth. All these songs that in speakeasies that they might start bursting into song with a few more that because
Very good.
but the barman it was on this speakeasy. Oh, you couldn't start singing or anything like that. So there was a comedy, there was a room for comedies in those times.
So there you go. Anyway, it's a difficult time, probably the most difficult time for alcoholics and recovering alcoholics at Christmas time, and it affects so many professions, lawyers, builders, dentists, nurses. It's right across the
It
board.
does, yeah. Well, funny enough, doctors often suffer from it, and priests, God be good to them, used to suffer from because of the nature of their work, and some of them wound up in Alcoholics Anonymous
You've
and
just
were
you
helped.
You've just reminded me of Maynooth. In Maynooth, all the pubs are on the one side of the street, and the reason is it was to prevent priests. So they had to. What the priests could only walk on the side of the street where there's no pubs, because you have Maynooth University for the priests, you see, so to train them. So
Yeah,
there you
it
go.
was
Yeah.
a tough assignment, and so suffice to say that some priests, would-be priests, got an education, and as soon as they got that, they sort of said, "Cheery boy," and then they become teachers and such like. They got an education. Now, I'm not saying they were all like that. Maybe they had a vocation, then decided they didn't have one. But there was that element to it, because I'm long enough in the tooth to have experienced these things, that I saw the way ones were what they call postulants, or not postulants, whatever they were going on to be priests, and they'd get an education in the university, theology and philosophy and various other odds and ends. And so when they got that, and sometimes they might get a BA, Bachelor of Arts or something like that, and the next thing is, boy, they were out in the marketplace. So it takes all sorts, and like they don't have that problem now because they have no vocations because of the changes that they made. But we're talking about the AA and all the rest of it, and it's the AA is a spiritual way of doing things, and this nun that you spoke about from Ireland that went to America when she was 6 years of age. Her family went in the 1870s or something like that, probably during the famine and the terrible tragedy that happened with that. A lot of them went even before that, and they did well. They were at the bottom of the pile, but they rose up and did well, thank God, and become an important ingredient in the life of America, and went on to great things in the legal profession and all the rest of it. And they were instrumental, the Irish, in getting rid of this Protestant condemnation that the Catholics had a problem in trying to practice their Catholic faith before they got their independence. So these are all matters that affected life, if you like, in the business of what we're talking about. Uh, Alcohol, when you do the AA, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, it's a spiritual exercise enabling you to sort of deal with your problem on a daily basis. It's a daily business, but because you've only one day at a time. Today is the most important day of your life. It's often hard to figure that out because we do make plans to go someplace, and I have plans that hopefully you'll be accompanying in March to visit the United States and EWTN in Alabama. So we will be hopefully doing that, all going well and health wise and all the rest of it. But I hope I have that plan, and I've indicated that to them. So anyway, we're talking about the alcoholics. So there is help for them, providing that they accept that they have a problem, and that's the only way to deal with any issue is to admit that you have a problem and seek help for to deal with the problem.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you very much, Albert.